and not put judgment and criticize myself, because when I criticize me, I criticize God, because me and God are one.
Hello, my name is Elle Harris, and thank you for checking out the 7 podcast. Today we are talking about motherhood. My guest today is Veronica, Miss Veronica. She is pretty much a second mother for me, and I chose her because I feel like she has been a person to go to in a lot of places where I need healing, and just a big, supporter and a model of what like love should be like. So I hope you're able to feel that in that conversation that we have. And check this out. Hello, everyone, and welcome to another episode of 7. Today is going to be an amazing episode because of this very special person who I have here today, who has been another mom to me. I've been blessed to have her in my life since 2013, 2012, 13, around that time frame. And she's just been instrumental in helping me develop into a woman. And so I would just let her introduce herself, and then we'll go from there.
Oh my goodness. So we need to do intros. So anyhow, hello everybody that's listening. I'm Veronica McMillian. And as Dr. L said, I'm just another mother loving another daughter. And so I'm excited about what we're going to do today, how this conversation is going to go. And so yeah, I'm all things mamas.
Yes, you are. So mother Abraham. But so I've been telling everybody why they were chosen to be a part of this. And so what this series has been about is just, I looked at 7 different areas of life that have brought me to the moment that I am now. And one of the most instrumental parts, I think, at this stage in my life, and then even before, like having a child, is that mothering, right? And I think mothering is so important because there are things that you desire or you crave, or things that you miss. And sometimes you're not receptive enough to receive that from your parent, from your, biological mother. For our own reasons. Like your mama can tell you what to do, and you're like, girl, you don't know, you ain't. And then when you get older, you're like, oh, she did know what she was talking about. All of those things. But I think what I am so happy for with you, and what I'm so blessed about with you, is that you know me in ways that most people don't. You have never judged me in my lowest moments. Everything is always about looking up and building up, and going forward. There's never been an expectation of being perfect. And that is something that's very rare. When you are raising or rearing a daughter, a lot of times you have expectations of them. You have high expectations, but you've never put me in a box, or you've never criticized me, no matter how life has hit me. I've been able to come with pure joy, love, safety, all of those things with you. And it's just been a blessing to have that experience. And so I couldn't think of anyone else to have this moment with, because you are the Iyanla Vanzant in my life. And so many other people that I know have that same experience with you, but it is a safe place. And in a world right now where so many women don't have that, I just thought that they can have a few moments of that with you today. So
Wonderful.
That's why I asked you to be here.
Well, thank you. I certainly do appreciate that. Thank you for such a high accolade. I've heard this Iyanla Vanzant thing before, but I'm just saying, I'm just being Veronica. I can't be. You can't be anybody else but yourself, and that's so vitally important in what we're doing. And in terms of what you just mentioned, in terms of judgment, you cannot sit in a seat of judgment when you're growing. When you're trying to grow, judgment has to be tossed away, regardless of whether it's judgment of yourself or judgment of someone else. Judgment has no place, because all it does is create darkness, and you just don't want that. So anyhow, go ahead on with your question.
Right. So the first question. How would you define motherhood?
Yeah, I was thinking about this before I got on, and you try to come up with all the great questions, great answers, shall I say, not questions. Try to come up with all the great answers, but basically, it's just a state of being, a state of being, and a state of loving. That's it. And
Mm.
you're going to extend that love to the extension of you, which is going to be your child.
Mm.
And because there is no blueprint, there's no book. I mean, there are thousands of books, but when you come to motherhood and you do it individually, you'd be like, no, my baby didn't do that, but somebody else said their baby did something. But motherhood is really that state of being
Mm.
your loving self, being your authentic self, being who you are at that moment and living in that present moment, because motherhood is these stages in life that you're going to go through. The baby comes out, everybody's happy, then they're 2, 3, 4, all that stuff, and then you start seeing personality and all of that stuff. So it really is that state of being, that state of loving, that state of being your authentic self, and extending that to the extension of you, because that's all your baby is an extension of you
Mm.
in living form. And we try our very best. We've gone, got thousands of books. I know all of us did back in the day when I was coming. I want no books. You just, the women in your life kind of shared what they could share if they were willing to be open. And that's what a mom has to be. A mom has to be open to the lessons that she is going to learn. Oftentimes we think that
Mm.
this baby is coming into our lives and we're going to teach this baby all of this stuff, but then we realize that the baby becomes the teacher and the mom is the student,
Oh,
because
that's
they're
good.
teaching us so much stuff about ourselves. They teach us and help us to understand our own trauma, those areas of ourselves that we didn't deal with, because what happens, it resonates, it comes to the surface. All
Yes.
that undone stuff that you did not do, that baby brings that thing to light, and you be like, oh God, now what? And now you over
Yes.
here needing to know that God has a plan and is always great. And that greater lesson sometimes comes through your child, that you're thinking that you are the teacher, but the child is the teacher and you are the student. And so it's
Mm.
important in terms of mamas. So motherhood is just that state of being, of loving, being authentic, being kind, and being truthful to yourself to the extension that sits in front of you as son or daughter.
Mm. I love that. I think like listening to what you're saying, if I had to put a definition of it, I would call it the great teacher, right?
Mm-hmm.
Because motherhood, like you could be a mom and a mother is two different. A mom, you birth the child, right?
Mm-hmm.
A mother is something different.
Mm-hmm.
And I feel like for me so far, motherhood has been the great teacher of all the things that I had not healed from,
Yes.
and all the things that I have yet to accomplish, and
Mm-hmm.
all the things that I need to still work on,
Mm-hmm.
and then all the things that I shine in,
Yeah.
like
Yeah.
all wrapped into one.
Exactly.
There are the days that are really good, and it's like, man, like I'm
Mm-hmm.
really rocking this thing. And there are
Mm-hmm.
days where I feel like, oh my God.
Mm-hmm.
And then there are days when I'm like, oh my goodness, she's not me.
Right.
Right. And then
Yeah.
there are days where I'm like, all right, I still need some help here.
Yeah.
Because
It's
if
a new
not,
kind of, yeah, yeah, yeah. I'm sorry. As you were saying that, I was thinking about this. It's almost a marriage. You know what I mean? You
mm-hmm.
don't see that because it's a covenant relationship that you have with you and your child,
Oh, I
and
love
that
that.
it brings to, it's just like marriages.
Mm-hmm.
Marriages will bring all of your unhealed stuff to the table,
Mm-hmm.
to the top of your
There
life.
you
And you're
go.
like, oh my God, I didn't know that this wasn't taken care of. And babies or children do the exact same thing. It's this covenant relationship that happens, that, again, as I said, we're thinking we're the ones growing up that child, and that child is actually growing us up, and then we're growing together. And
Yeah.
that's so important when it comes to motherhood, because I was a young mom and I came to the table with nothing, didn't know much of anything, and didn't realize that my son was the teacher, or sons were the teachers in my life. So yeah, it's one of the highest callings that anybody would
Mm-hmm.
have in their lives. It's one of those high callings.
Do you feel like there's a difference in how one mother's a son and a daughter?
Yeah, that's crazy. Again, when you talk about mothering, it really is bringing your highest self. But I think culture does play a role in this,
Mm-hmm.
because oftentimes what happens is culture is driving so much, depending upon what what home you grew up into, the societal changes and things that are going on at that specific time, and you're trying to be your best. You're trying to bring your son or daughter up in the best light that you possibly can be, but you also know that uh, maybe my son doesn't need to be doing this because he's a boy,
Yeah.
or my daughter shouldn't be doing this because she's a girl. And so here we go back to allowing people to just be their authentic selves. But I do think culture plays a role in what's happening with our sons and daughters. But we, as the mama, we got to figure out what is best for that child. What does that child need from me?
Mm-hmm.
And what do I need from that child? And see, we don't think about the need from the
We
child,
don't.
and we just got to figure that out. And that's a slippery slope for a lot of people. And I think people now are in trauma as a result of that. You know what I mean? As a result of that specific thing that you're putting on that particular child. Your son maybe doesn't want to do football and all the games and the boy stuff. He's a creative. He wants to do art. He
Yeah.
loves dance and all that stuff. And you're so afraid that, oh my God, again, this generation may not as like our generation. It was a little bit more. Uh, what's the word that I want to use? We had a lot of labels and stigmas and all of
Yeah.
that stuff on us, but I still think that's still there to some
It
degree
is.
now.
Mm-hmm.
And when you do that, you stifle the child, you stifle the giftings that's there in the child. So to answer that question, I think yes and no.
Yeah.
Um, but we got to go back to a state of being the best that we can, being the loving person, the kind person. How do we introduce our children to God without religion? You know what I mean? All
Right.
those things are so important. If you grew up in a house and y'all went to church, and that's what I'm gonna take my babies to church too. You know what I mean? But is church
Yep.
God or is God church? You know what I
There
mean?
we go.
Those
There we
sorts of
go.
things. And so we have to look at it in the totality of what it is, in terms of how do we make sure that we're being loving and kind, and we're being gentle, and we're being authentic, and we're telling our truth. Because it's amazing that children know the real. Because we've had, if you ever had a baby and you give that baby to a person, that baby just breaks out crying, screaming
Yeah.
their heads off, because somehow or another they are gauging the spiritual energy
They
of
know.
that specific person, and they don't have words to say, but always like, something is wrong up in
Yeah.
here.
Get
This
me
person that's
away.
holding me is not that person that I want to be holding me. So that's a loaded question, but I say yes and no to it.
Yes, I agree. I think it's a lot of what you said with the stigmas. Like, I don't want my son to be in dance because then what is that going to lead him into, right?
Mm-hmm.
And I don't want my daughter to play basketball because what is that going to lead her into? Instead of just focusing in on the child. I know, like, I'll find myself sometimes, like, just wanting to go and say some stuff, and I reel myself back in to mind my own business. But
Mm-hmm.
I also understand that sometimes moms, and maybe when you see a mom who may not have a man in her life, sometimes that son takes on that role and that responsibility, right? So
Mm-hmm.
he's now in charge of taking care of the house. Like, you got to be the man.
Mm-hmm.
But I wish we could, and I would say this with little girls too, but I'll start with boys. I wish we could allow them to just be boys for a little
Right.
while,
Mm-hmm.
right? There
Mm-hmm.
comes a point where they will have responsibility and they'll have to take that on. But can we just allow them to be boys? Can they just play for a little while? Can they not have the pressure of the world so early?
Yeah.
You know,
Yeah.
and I feel like that happens with girls too. If you are
Mm-hmm.
a product of a single family home and your mom has to work, you probably will be home cooking. You will probably be
Mm-hmm.
watching the other kids,
Right.
all of those things. But I just wish that we could find ways in motherhood. And I know it's tough already.
Yeah.
It's tough with two parents in the home.
Yeah.
I'm a product of a single mother, so I know
Mm-hmm.
what that looks like too. But I just wish we had that space to be children, to
Exactly.
grow in our age bracket instead of like
Yeah.
having to mature faster, because that leads to what you kind of talked about earlier, and I want to get into that with you now, the trauma, right?
Mm-hmm.
Because I know for me, when I was younger, I always tell people I became a mom at 7.
Mm.
When my little brother was born, my mom had to work.
Right.
So, and my oldest brother, he's 7 years older. We're all like 7 years apart.
Mm-hmm.
My oldest brother's like, nope, I'm not raising another one. I raised her. I'm going outside to play. So it was me. I had to, my mom had to go to work. She had to do what she had to do. We had to take care of each other.
Yeah.
But that made me not want to have children, because I
Right.
was like, I've had a child since I was 7,
Right.
like I don't want to
Right.
take care of nobody else, right? But
Mm-hmm.
it's that mentality. Like, so how do you feel that trauma, like
Mm-hmm.
even from a mother standpoint, as a mother, how does that trauma affect your ability to be a mother?
Yeah, it to the point that you made, when we do it early, we awaken the sleeping giant
Mhm.
when before it's time. And we can't undo the stuff that has happened. Okay, so we're a single mom, because I was a single mom, and I was a single mom that did not get lessons poured into me from the women that were prior, the women that came before me, whether it be aunties, sisters, neighbors, or what have you. So I went out there unprepared. And so we gotta figure out how to do this. And so single moms, single dads, or whomever, you gotta understand that you got to give space for them. And I know that we're tired because we're grinding, we're trying to do everything that we gotta do, but we gotta understand that this is a life that is before us, that's being lived out, and
Right.
that we gotta do that. And oftentimes we don't even know that it is trauma. We just know that we're just grinding so hard. We just know that somebody mistreated us. We just know that I got a silent pain within me, and I don't even know how to get it out. And then I want to be able to get it out to the right person, because if I get it out to the wrong person, and that person takes my stuff and do whatever that they do with my stuff, it even creates greater pain. So one of the things that we gotta get back to is that we gotta take moments of quietness. We gotta also listen to our children, because they tell us too. They want to go outside and play. You don't ever read to me. I'll go sit
Yeah.
down. You know what I mean? You don't, my so and so, mama did this, that, and the other. I'm tired. I
Yeah.
can't do. You want that. So we're gonna have to learn to listen to them as well, and be able to know that you gotta find somebody that can be a confidant to you. You gotta
Mhm.
find someone who can be able to let you be you, so that they can. All of us have dangled our feet off the ledge. Like, if somebody don't say something to me right now, I'm gonna lose my mind. I'm gonna do this,
Right.
that, and the other, because we're on the edge. And so we gotta figure that out, because all unhealed trauma does is create cancer. And when I
Mhm.
say it creates cancer, it's cancer in your life, cancer in your body, cancer to your children, because now you don't know how to do what you need to do for them. Then it's cancer into your relationships, because you bring somebody into your own woundedness. You
Yeah.
didn't heal. And so now he's gonna bring somebody else in. And I always say, when we look at this from a sexual standpoint, when someone penetrates you, they penetrate your life as well. They
Right.
penetrate the lives of your children. They penetrate relationships. They penetrate all of that. And so
Mhm.
we gotta really understand how important it is to say, I'm hurting. And I got to get help. And that's hard, because you're dealing with your own self all the time. And your self will do that self-talk. Ain't nothing wrong with you. You just gonna do like this, that, and the other. And this person did this and the other. And then you get the blame game. And
Yes.
that does not do anything. So addressing our trauma is so important. And sometimes that's not sitting in front of a therapist, because the right therapist is important to you. Get the wrong therapist as you want to, and see
There you
how
go.
how that jack you up. So it
Hmm.
means that you really need to have someone that can come into your life and just say, go ahead on and be yourself. And that, finding a sacred space, is a difficult space for most of us, because most of us been traumatized by mothers, sister, aunties, all that stuff. And then since that's unhealed and we spew that stuff onto our children because they marinate in all your dysfunction anyhow. They
Mm-hmm.
marinate in the womb into all of that pain, unresolved issues, and all that stuff. And then they come out and you wonder why she's so mean. Well, you were mean. She's still, and then we don't understand all this stuff with heritage and DNA.
Yes.
All of that matters. And so I remember we were on a call one day, and one of the ladies that was on the call with us, she said one of the ladies in her therapy group said, if you do not heal your issues, it's going to show up in your tissues.
Oh,
And it's
that's
the
good.
same thing, with our children and stuff. And so trauma is so vitally important that we gotta deal with it. And then what I'll finally say is that oftentimes I think when I'm working with women, we're doing soul work groups, or we're just having authentic conversations. I'll say, get your journal and drill down to your why. You'll
Mm.
say, why did I get angry when she said that? Why did I cry when, the movie came on? Why did I fuss him out, cuss him out? Why? If you can drill down to your why and just basically come up with an answer for that, and then just ask spirit, God, I'm trying to figure this thing out. I'm mad as hell at everybody, and I don't
Yeah.
even know why. And allow spirit to bring that to you. So that was my long-winded way of
Yeah.
answering
I
that.
love that. I love that. It means a lot. I think that I know, like, when I think it was 2023, 2022, December 2022, when I had like this whole, like, I think that was probably like my lowest point that
Mm-hmm.
I've ever felt. And which is so crazy because I just had this child that I had waited for 8 years.
Mm-hmm.
And it wasn't until almost 6 months afterwards that I hit postpartum depression.
Mm-hmm.
And for me, it wasn't the everybody goes through it differently. And I think that's probably why it took me so long to understand what was happening,
Mm-hmm.
because it was never a lack of me wanting to be with my child,
Right.
but it was a lack of everything. It's like I died everywhere but in
Mm-hmm.
motherhood.
Mm-hmm.
Like that was the only place that I could feel like I could breathe and thrive.
Mm. Yeah.
Everything else around me felt dead.
Yeah.
And I remember vividly, like, being in the house and telling my husband, if I knew that my child would be okay, if y'all,
Mm.
like, if it wasn't, I would
Mm.
not move forward. I would
Yeah.
end it right now.
Yeah.
I would end it right now.
Yeah.
And because I felt like I had nothing else to live for.
Mm.
And I think that a lot of moms, in that moment, I felt that with motherhood, you always like put your children before you, right? You put everything else, you try to pour everything into that. You're also dealing with your prior traumas of feeling like not seen or not being, heard, or like everything
Mm-hmm.
that you wish you would have had, once again, making that child you. So all the
Mm-hmm.
things that you wish, so you're doing all of these things to be there for them,
Mm.
not realizing in your doing for them, they also see you doing for others. So you're teaching them to serve,
Right.
not to take care of themselves, not to love
Right.
themselves, but how to take care of others, right? And you're teaching them how to neglect themselves because you're the mirror of what they see. And I didn't see it at that time. So all I could do was eat. So I just ate and I ate and I ate
Yep.
until I'm almost pushing 200 pounds, because that was the only thing that I had to make me feel better. I
Mm.
couldn't I couldn't accomplish it away. I couldn't do anything. I
Mm.
felt like I lost.
Right.
Like I felt like every purpose had been drained from me. I just felt like I felt like a slave to motherhood.
Mm. Yeah. Yeah.
And it was one of those things in that whole process. Not only did it, but it made me appreciate some things. It made me appreciate my own mother, right?
Mm.
It's so easy to judge a parent when you're not a parent. And I
Mm-hmm.
remember telling my mom, like, I'm struggling with a husband and one child. You
Yep.
had 3 children,
Mm-hmm.
right? You had 3 children at one time with no husband. I have no idea how you did it.
Yeah.
I have absolutely no idea how you did it.
Mm-hmm.
When everybody daddy won't paying child support, like I don't know how you did this, right?
Yeah.
And I just felt like it's crazy that there's over 7 billion people that exist in this world, and people that have come before and people that will come after us, right? And in all of that, you can still feel lonely.
Yeah.
It doesn't matter that it's been so many people that have gone through the birthing process and all of that. You can still feel like the only one who
Mm.
understands, because the world puts all of these expectations on you now. And I think it was so much easier before social media. The
Yes.
people that make breastfeed and look so easy, it was hard. It was not as easy as people made it. All of those different things. But you're just like, I'm just trying to give her the best. I'm just trying to give what I didn't have. And this child's like, I don't even know what you didn't have.
Right.
Right. And then there was a moment where, for me, when like all the pieces started to come together, and I remember one of my old assistants, I was talking to her on the phone, and she was like, Elle, I want you to just know one thing. She's like, you are more than just a good mom. Like,
Mm-hmm.
remember that. Like, there are
Yeah.
other parts of you.
Mm-hmm.
Like, you're a good human, you're a good professional. Like, remember that too. Don't
Exactly.
just limit yourself to being a good mom.
Yeah.
And I think that was the thing that clicked and said, all right, Elle, you got to get this together.
Yeah.
Stop looking at this place as a dark spot. Look at it as a place sometimes you have to be hidden, right? So
Mm.
that, and I had to realize I prayed for this. I prayed for a moment where I could work. I didn't have to work my first year of having my child, like being there with her, all of those things. And I had to start, all right, these are things I prayed for, Elle. Maybe it didn't look like what I thought it would,
Mm-hmm.
but this is where I am. I still have a village. I still have people that reached out and said, Elle, you need help here, I'll help you. If you need me to come hold the baby, I'll do that. If you need me to come
Yeah.
watch, like all of those things. So, and then I had to like remove myself from the fog of just like the emotions and the hormones that were just kind of running rampant, and say, all right, Elle, you can get up from this. You're
Mm.
going to be okay.
Yeah.
You could be vulnerable in this. And what I did different from people that I knew, I told what I was going through. Like, I
Mm.
was very vocal about what I felt, and I was
Yeah.
very transparent about that journey.
Yeah.
But I feel like a lot of us aren't able to do that because we're so busy, like just trying to be the best mom and show the world that we're the best mom. So
Yeah.
yeah, I wanted to kind of say that. So now we're in this space of the people who I see, people who I know some people personally, and I see people on social media who have found themselves in a place of denouncing their mothers. And
Mm-hmm.
I understand that there are some situations in life where you may not, it may be best for you to no longer have communications with your mom, right? It could be some very
Yes.
damaging things that have happened that cause you to
Mm-hmm.
go your own separate ways. But what are your thoughts on that? Like the people who are doing that and then publicly saying
Mm-hmm.
it aloud, like, hey, I denounced my mother. I'm done because of this. And then screenshot the last conversation. Like, what are your thoughts on that?
Again, that goes back to really, 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 really loving yourself and allowing yourself to be. You got to always stay in the present moment. And part of this denouncement is that you were looking for something that you did not get, and the way to allow yourself to free yourself from that prison is forgiveness of yourself, and then forgiveness of your mom. Because oftentimes you would think, man, if I had had my mom in my life, this would have been that way. Could it be that the best was that she was not in your life? I grew up in a
Mm-hmm.
home where, my mother had mental health issues, and I could see my older sister's relationship with her, my mom, and my relationship with her, because they experienced her mental health in its crazy state. I
Mm-hmm.
experienced her on the other end of it because she wasn't there in my life. And so
Mm-hmm.
our relationships with her was so totally different. I missed the raft. You know what I mean? Because of what was
Mm-hmm.
going on. So sometimes I know we would, the idyllic picture is that she's there and we're doing ballet and she's talking, and that would be the ideal. But sometimes you got to give up what you had in mind and just accept what it is for what it is, and that
Mm-hmm.
possibly it was to your advantage that she was not, right?
Yeah.
Because you don't know all of the stuff. Because again, I saw the relationships between my sisters and my mother, and with her being there, and because they were so much older when I was born, they literally could have been my mom. But
Mm-hmm.
my relationship was so totally different. I got her on the back end of her life. I got her as she was getting some help and all of that stuff. So sometimes what we think she should have been to us, it's not the thing, and that we're going to
Yeah.
have to really give up that. And then I come back to forgiveness. Let me forgive her. Let me forgive myself, because again, we're carrying a lot of pain. When people
Yeah.
can do that, that's trauma showing up. That's your pain showing up. And you don't want that, because that stuff is going to be transferred to your daughter, to your son. Regardless of whether or not you speak it or not, it's still there.
Hmm.
And so whenever that we can do this, why do we need an audience for our pain? We do
Yeah.
not. We got to be able to, like, okay. And it's a hard place. I get it and I understand. But part of our walk is that we're going to have to understand the role of what forgiveness plays in our lives. When
Hmm.
you let forgiveness, true forgiveness, come in, and you allow it to come in, it'll clear up that fog, because now
Hmm.
you let yourself and your mama or daddy or
Yeah.
whomever off the hook. And what it does is open up a space where love can come in if you allow it, because
Right.
part of us is not loving us authentically, and that
Mm.
we're reaching out for somebody to love me. You are the love that you're looking for. And so when you understand that, because again, if you don't understand that, you're going to always be outside of yourself. And the greatest work of yourself is an internal work. It's a work between you and God, where you're having this conversation. God, I don't know why this is this way. God, I'm needing you to help me to kind of get through all of these moments. And
Right.
I'm needing you to help me to forgive that woman. And then understanding that that might have been the salvation, as hard as it was and sometimes is. That you got to understand there is opportunity in every opposition, and that the pain is part of your development. And
Mm.
that's that for most of us. And most of us just trying to shoo the pain away. Get away,
That's
pain.
it.
I don't want that pain. But that pain chisel away those areas of yourself if you just give into it. So you can't fight it. You have to give into it. And when
Hmm.
you can give into it, allow what only the Holy Spirit can do. And,
Right.
and that and that is working through those parts of yourself that you don't even know that you have.
Hmm.
And so it's important that we learn to walk in the forgiveness. You're not going to be perfect, so we just got to give all that stuff up. Not all this perfect stuff, and people, I'd be tripping like, oh my God, do you really think that's the real you showing up? No, because you're not perfect. You're
Yeah.
gonna have these mistakes along the way. You're going to be in pain, but pain always has a purpose. And if we could just allow ourselves to give into it for a moment, allow ourselves to forgive. What does forgiveness look like for you? And
Hmm.
most people cannot answer that question, but it'll free you up first. And then you'll be, I can't forgive her. Why not?
Mm.
Because you certainly can't change the past.
You cannot.
So you would rather to hold on to the pain than to let it go.
Mm.
Because I
Because
always
you're
ask the
familiar with
question,
pain.
what part of pain do you love?
Mm.
Because pain always has a payoff. I don't care what people say, pain always has a payoff. And if you don't really want the pain, then choose something different, because you always have the power of choice. That's what God gave it to us for. Choose again. I made a mistake. Okay, choose again. Choose again. It is not this life that we have is the sum total of the decisions that we've made, good
Right.
and bad. And so we really just got to allow freedom to come through forgiveness, and then walk every day in your present moment. Not 2 hours from now. The present moment is you and I doing this podcast. That's
Yeah.
our present moment. We don't know 15, 25 minutes from now. We don't know it. So we got to be able to rest in that and allow life to unfold in the beauty of all that it comes with, good, bad, ugly, and different, because we're still here and we're winning.
Mm. I love that. And I think what you said about pain is so severe. It's so real. I think that some people cannot let go of pain because pain is what they know. And once you take it away, like, what do I have?
Mm-hmm.
What is
Mm-hmm.
forgiveness? What is freedom? I don't know what
Mm-hmm.
this feels like. This isn't
Exactly.
right. I can
Yes.
stay in my story. I can attach myself to this because then that's how I can relate to others. And
Yeah.
but that is real, and I never looked at it that way. But I think that may be why some people stay in it and they have to publicly say, "Hey, look at my pain." So if
Mm-hmm.
you see my mom and she doesn't mention me, let me give you my side of the story, you
Mm-hmm.
know? But
Mm-hmm.
all of that is irrelevant in the scheme of things. If it's about the freedom of we have to then let the freedom be without explanation.
Yeah.
So I
Yeah.
really love that. So getting into our last question, how do you become a good mother without knowing how to be a mother? And
Because it's not.
is there such thing as a good mother? Like, is it
Ask people like, yes, I was a good mom. Didn't ask your children like, no, you won't, because it's
right?
not about knowing. It's about being. It's
Mm,
being in that in that very. It goes right back to the moment of being in your present moment and doing those
right.
things. Your children come to you, Mama, let's go play. Oh, Mama got to do the homework. Mama got to do this, that, and other. Your moment, because we've forgotten play as adults.
Yeah.
It's almost as if, and I remember doing this with my students when I was teaching over at TCC. I was saying most of us, when it's raining hard, we trying to get our umbrella and we're trying to get to our destination.
Hmm.
We're not walking through the rain and enjoying the rain that's hitting our bodies because it's what we need. We need to
Yeah.
slow down. We need to do all that stuff. We see rain as a problem. I'm
Yes.
needing to go over to the car with the umbrella and all of that stuff. And we forgot, and all of us can remember as children playing in the rain, running in the rain,
Yes.
running out the rain,
Oh,
doing
that was so
all
fun.
of the fun.
Yeah.
That was the fun. That thing was so fun. We've forgotten that. And
Hmm.
we just got to know that motherhood is about being. It's not about knowing, because you can't know it all, because you don't know that your child at 6 is going to have cancer.
Yeah.
You don't even know how you would react to that. So you
Right.
get to that moment and that's happening, or you get to that moment and you find out, oh my God, my child is so talented, you know what I mean,
Right.
and they're going to be the next whatever that's going
Right.
to be. It's about being with them, being with yourself, being all that you can be, and allowing it to just happen moment by moment, because that's all we got. Those moments in time, not 2 hours from now, because none of us know what
Hmm.
2 hours is going to look like. So if you don't know what it looks like, you got to be in the moment and
Yeah.
step into each moment as it unfolds and be okay with that. Because even if you knew your child is different from somebody else's child, we've had recipes like, I put the right stuff in there. I did everything they told me to do, and the cake still fell apart.
Right.
You know what I mean? Or I did everything that they said, because you are not that person.
Hmm.
You are uniquely, wonderfully made, and that if you don't give us your gift, you cheat us out of the gift. Because
Hmm.
only you can bring that to fruition, and only you can give us that. That's the uniqueness of who we are. And we got to just accept that and be okay with that. So it really is just being, and don't get caught up in the knowing.
Mm. I love that. I feel like for me this moment has just been about love,
Oh yeah.
and being the biggest thing I take away from this is being present,
Oh, no
being
doubt.
in the moment, the knowing, like
Hmm.
not feeling like you have to have it all together and crossing all the T's and dotting all the I's.
Yeah.
Embrace the pain when it comes,
Hmm.
embrace the hard moments when they come too.
Yes.
And just everything is about being present in each of
Yes.
those spaces that you're in. And
Yeah.
I think that's how we get through. That's how we survive it. I remember one of my line sisters said, "Motherhood is the hoodest hood that you will ever." And I agree. I 100% agree. It is so hood over here.
Ah, and it's
It
one of those
is.
sacred things as well. You know what I mean?
Mhm,
It's one of those things that if you look at it, the totality of it all
mhm.
is, I'm so much better as a woman because of my children.
Yeah.
I'm
Yeah.
I'm so much better because of all of my spiritual daughters who bring a part of myself to me that I didn't even know existed. I'm
Mhm.
better because of it. And so I have to, again, embrace this, because it all goes back to, and then you and I had talked about the series that I want to do, Discovering Love. I got to
Yeah.
understand that I am the love that I've been looking for all the time. And so once I can do that, because this love of God never goes away. God just be sitting like, okay, now you're gonna be crazy, but I'm gonna still be right here when you finish being crazy. I'm gonna let you just go on and do that, going on to do it, but I'm
Yeah.
still right here loving you. I don't care. I don't care what you've done, how you did it. My love for you does not change. And if
Mm-mm.
we can understand that, walk in love day by day, moment by moment, and when we miss the mark, choose to forgive and just say, oh, miss that, and not put judgment and criticize myself, because when I criticize me, I criticize God, because me and
Mm-hmm.
God are one.
Mm. That's good. That's good. And he made no mistakes when he made us.
None.
No mistakes. And he knew we could handle everything that we face. And I think that's what we forget. We have every capacity that we need, but when we're not present, we haven't tapped into the full capacity that we already possess.
Yes.
And so I feel like I'm there. And though there are, of course, there are going to be good days, there are going to be tough days. Because this little three-nager that I got right now, she moving, but she's so in tune. That's what you say. She watches everything,
Of
my
course.
movements, my grunts, my groans. She knows all of it, and she'll call it out. Mommy, what was
Yeah.
that for?
Yeah.
All of those things. Everything is so intentional, and it's just that great reminder of someone's watching.
Oh, no doubt.
So let them expose them to the good days in your life. Expose them to let them know when you're having a tough time,
Yeah.
because that's how you help children understand the vast majority, all of the emotions. I don't guard her from.
Yeah.
I let her see it all, so that she understands in a healthy way. Like you have good days and you have bad days, and
Yeah.
I think that's it. We just be present as much as
Yeah.
possible,
Hmm.
and that's how we go forth. Any last words that you have for mothers out there?
My last words again would be, you gotta understand, you gotta take time for you. I remember you and I used to have these conversations. You say, Elle, you got to advocate for yourself.
Mm-hmm.
And it's important that we do that, because oftentimes we give so much to others and that we're not giving to ourselves. And so we're going to have to really love ourselves. And loving ourselves doesn't necessarily mean you got to go out and buy some shoes and a dress. Loving myself would mean I just need some quiet time,
Right.
because a cluttered mind cannot create. When your mind is cluttered, you will not be able to create. You just got to take the moments and just love yourself and realize that you are enough. You were born enough, that you are great, because greatness lives within you. And if God has breathed the breath of life in all of us, then God must exist in all of us. So
Right.
now I know that there's a part of me that is for real perfect, that has authority and power. And all I need to do is be in alignment with that. And that is just called love.
I love that. I love that. I hope everyone is able to take something away from our conversations today, and just stay tuned for what is going to happen next. I can't wait till this whole love series just like kind of just unfolds, and
Yeah.
people can just come and get that feeling. We've been blessed. Some of my friends and I have been blessed to be under this just love and rearing from you for a long time, and to the point when we come to her house and she'd be like, y'all got to go. So but you sometimes you just need that. You need, it's something that you thirst for,
Yeah.
and it's a
Yeah.
blessing to be able to receive it. So thank you for checking out our podcast today on motherhood. I hope you were able to get some good takeaways from it and some things that you can implement in your own life. But thank you, and I hope you come back next week.